Okay, we are live. Welcome to today's session of Can We Talk? My name is Deidre Moss, and I'm the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. I would like to reiterate that this platform is dedicated to highlighting individuals with talent. We have so many talented individuals that we want to highlight. And so we have began this series to highlight Bahamian creatives. And we know that there are so many talented individuals who do not always get the recognition that they so rightfully deserve. And in some way, we at Can We Talk with Deidre Moss is trying to fill in the gap with this issue. And so today we will be continuing the conversation, continuing the talk on Bahamian creatives. And we have invited Kendia Simmons today to help us dissect this topic. At this time, I will pass the virtual mic to our guest so that she can introduce herself.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Kendia Ferguson Simmons. I am a trained language arts secondary educator who has traversed to special ed, and now I am at the student development section of the Ministry of Education. I am a wife and the mother to my bonus son, Javon.
Thank you for that introduction, short and sweet. So before we begin the session, if you're tuning in from our social media page and you just joined us, like and share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page, subscribe to our various social media platforms that we have also highlighted throughout our page. We need your support to continue these talks. Also, if you think there's something that we should be talking about, let us know. Feel free to reach out to us. Our numbers are on the page. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to advertise with us or sponsor on our page, feel free to reach out to us as well. We do want to hear from you. So with that, let's get into our talk. So I would like to ask our guests to give us some insight into your background and how did you become an author?
Well, like I said earlier, I was a high school English language teacher, language and literature. So reading and writing go hand in hand. So writing was always a part of my journey. I loved to write as a child. Writing was a way for me to work out my thoughts and express myself. And writing also was used for me too, especially when I became a special educator. I couldn't find stories suitable for the needs of my students, so I had to create it and create them based on the skills and the topics that we needed to cover. So that's how it began.
Okay, thank you so much. And writing is so very important. At least for me, I've always been interested in writing, reading, and I was always taught as a child, when you read, it kind of takes you places that you probably may never end up going. But reading is a way to, take yourself outside of your environment sometimes and put yourself in a different place, a different time, a different era. Reading can definitely expand your knowledge and expand you in some ways. And so thank you for sharing that. And so I want to ask you about the inspiration. I know you talk about having your students and not having certain materials available to them, which kind of would have led you into writing. But is there any other form of inspiration that would have led you to write your books?
Well, most of my books are based on experiences, observation. This book, Daddy, Daddy Me, is based on actually a saying. My bonus son, he lived with us from we got married, and his father is a Defense Force officer, and he would be deployed out to sea for a month and sometimes 2 months. And every time he came back home, he would run to the door and shout, "Daddy, Daddy, me." So that was their cue phrase. And every time he did it, I would observe and I jot down notes. And initially, the book started out as a poem that I wrote for him, for my husband, as a part of one of his Father's Day's gift. And so that's how the book came around. And recently, over the past 3 years, I've been dealing with a health crisis, and my family and friends, they told me to journal and to write about it because what I was dealing with can probably help someone else on the journey. But as I began to write it, it became too heavy for me. And so I put it down and I went back to some writings that I created and I fleshed out this book, Daddy, Daddy, Me. Yeah.
Awesome. So you were inspired by who you called your bonus son. You were inspired by his mannerisms and his actions, his excitement to see his dad. And so that is definitely excellent. And so I want to get to, is there any other form of inspiration that would have impacted you as well?
Also, my childhood and also observing the students that I have interacted with, observing my nieces and my nephews. My second book is based on one of my nieces. So yeah, that's where my inspiration normally comes from.
Seems to be like you're surrounded with kids. You're surrounded by kids.
Yeah.
So you definitely have a lot of inspiration around you. And then you also mentioned that you're a special education teacher as well.
I used to be. I recently came out of special ed last year. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was in special ed for 12 years. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
But you still teach, right?
Actually, I am assigned to student development and so I'm not physically teaching, but I help with training teachers.
Kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Emma Dawkins is saying hi.
My stepmom.
Hi, Emma. Thank you so much. Feel free to share.
In Abaco, she's in Abaco.
Oh, welcome. Yeah. Thank you, Emma. So I want to ask you, being an author and being a Bahamian author, what do you think about Bahamians in the literary space?
I think that they are coming into their own now. We are allowing our culture, our experiences to be intertwined and into our writing.
I'm here. Continue talking.
Intertwined into our writing. And so we're making our presence known and representing the culture creatively and our ideas in our own unique way. So I think they are blazing trails from the kids to the adults.
Awesome. So they're forming their own niche.
Yeah.
So awesome. Good stuff. Okay. And so I wanted to come to another point to ask you the impact. I know you're not just having written one book. You have some other books. But what would you want the impact to be when you think about your work? What impact would you like for it to have?
Well, in general, for all my books, I want it to be a positive representation of whatever topic or commentary that I'm trying to make. In particular, with Daddy, Daddy, Me, I see it as a celebration of fathers who are being positive and present in their children's lives, because as you read the book, you would see the interaction of the father and the son and how the interactions help to mold the child and what his aspirations are because of how his father interacts with him. I also wanted to inspire those fathers that do not have that grasp on fatherhood yet to see what an importance it is for them to be actively involved with their children, whether they have sons or daughters. And then I wanted to be a motivation for future fathers so that they can see what being a father, what being a good and a present father can do for a child and how important it is for that child's development.
Thank you for mentioning that. And those are some heavy hitting points that you mentioned about a father being active in their child's life. And you talk about Daddy, Daddy, Me, the book, where you would see interaction between the child and their father. And so those are very important topics within our community to talk about being a present father and being active in a child's life. And so those are very important to impactful to highlight those things. And you did it in a children's book, because those are heavy topics in and of itself. So to put it in that framework to make it more, I guess, easier to palatable, and making it more easy for persons to take on is really good, because these are definitely topics that we need to explore. We need to talk about fathers being present in their kids' life, and looking at the statistics where we see maybe fathers may not always be as active as they should be. And even those who are probably in their kids' life may not really play an active role as they should. So bringing this topic to the forefront is definitely something that is important. So I definitely want to congratulate you for doing that. And then you also have another book as well that talks about beautiful brown me.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to write that book?
My niece and my son are around the same age, and we normally call them frick and frack. And so they've always been around me. And one day she was with her cousins who are of a lighter complexion than she was. And she was crying that she wants to be brown like them. She doesn't want to be her shade of brown. And so I wrote her a little story trying to explain to her how she's beautiful just the way she is. And so when I presented it to my sister to give to her to read to her, my sister said, "You really should turn this into a book because a lot of other children can appreciate it." And so that's what I did. I turned it into a story to share with other little girls.
These are some heavy topics. You're talking about being present in kids' life, and then you're talking about issues with colorism.
Right.
And so you have a niece. Is she of a darker hue?
She isn't of that much a darker hue, but her cousins are very, very, very light, fair skinned.
Yeah.
And so I guess because of where she was, they treated them differently. And at 6, she realized it. So she wanted to be brown like them.
At six, she realized that she was being treated differently.
Yeah.
Where's she? She's here in this country?
Well, not, yeah, but she's 10, she's 11 now. Yeah, she's here, right here in the Bahamas.
She experienced that here in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And she, being in her 6-year-old self, realized that, hey, I'm just a little bit darker than my cousins, but I'm being treated differently because of my complexion. And so how did that affect her?
Well, after I initially did the book, I just took pictures of her from infancy to 6 years old. And when her mom read it to her, she got excited because in the book, I explained to her why you are beautiful, that your beauty is beyond the color of your skin, and people may treat you different, but you shouldn't let that determine how you feel about you. So that's some of what the book is about.
Those are powerful. This is a powerful topic. You see my head down just a little bit. I'm going to the comments, but I'm gonna jump back to you. But again, I just wanted to reiterate that these are powerful topics when you think about the issue of colorism that we have in our communities, and for her to be at that age to realize that, hey, I'm experiencing some differences in treatment because of my complexion is very enlightening. And the fact that you're addressing this in a children's book, because guess what, kids feel these things too. So this is not just an adult issue. These are issues that our kids have to deal with. And so the fact that you were able to tackle that issue, like I said, again, I want to congratulate you, and also taking initiative to reach out to her and to write to her, because you didn't, I'm thinking you didn't start off with writing the book, but you were writing it to her.
Yes.
Yeah. To remind her that her complexion is beautiful as well.
Yeah.
You know. So I want to congratulate you for highlighting that topic. Those are heavy hitting, man.
Yes, and I have another one that I've finished, but I'm waiting to find an illustrator that can bring the pictures to life. It's called Big Dreams Live Inside of Me.
You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes. Well, Big Dreams Live Inside of Me is based on some experiences that I had as a child, and then some experiences that other children that I've taught, when you would discuss things that they could be, they would say, but I can't be that because of this situation, because I'm poor, or because my parents don't have money, or because they don't like me. And so it talks about three different children and the dreams that they have, and the things that can hinder their dreams, but the things that they do to pursue their dreams. So that's what that book is about.
Big dreams live inside of me.
Yes.
Okay, you hitting some heavy stuff. So not only are you talking about present fathers, and you're talking about colorism, but you're also talking about those things that impact us as well, to say, okay, I don't have these advantages in front of me. I'm faced with some challenges in my life, but I can still dream big.
Yes.
And you're tackling it from a kid's perspective.
Yeah.
Or you're reaching out to the kids, which is good. These are some heavy stuff. Any reason why you're tackling the heavy hitting topics?
As a teacher for 27 years, you experience a lot of things with children. So, and especially my latter years were in the primary school, and believe it or not, not all parents are parents, unfortunately. And to give a child an aspiration or a reality that there are people and there is a way that you can deal with the stuff that you are dealing with and still come out on top. However, coming out on top looks like to you. Coming out on top doesn't mean that you have to be wealthy. It just means that you have to be happy and that you have to be comfortable in your skin and satisfied with the way that your life is. So I decided that, okay, I think I need to use my writing, which is one of the gifts that God has blessed me with, to share these things. And then being sick it pushed me, because I realized that, okay, if you had died, you had all of these stories on your computer and you just have them sitting there, when you could use your talent to help others. Because with the first book, I had a friend call me after she purchased the book, and she said she could not put the book down. She said, I read the book from front to end, and I sat there and I experienced this relationship with this child, and I want to share it with a child, but I don't know how to, because that child doesn't have this kind of relationship. But the relationship is so beautiful that she thinks he needs to see that this is a possibility, so that he can be that type of father when he grows up. So that was one of the confirmations with the book after I was receiving that kind of feedback. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Emma Dawkins is saying greatness lives inside of you, Kay. Greatness lives inside of you. But you glazed over some points that I kind of picked apart, and I just want to touch them a little bit. You talked about being sick, and you mentioned something important, and that is you did not want to. You could have been in a situation where you may not have been here, but you were not comfortable with the fact that you had these ideas and you had these stories, and you did not tell them, or you did not share them. You want to talk about that a little bit? That's important.
Well, actually, in 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I am still in that battle dealing with that. And like I said earlier, because of the tumultuousness of the journey, everyone was telling me, oh, you need to write this down, because some things are happening that people need to understand and know that there's hope in the midst of the battle. And as I sat there, I started to write it, but it became so heavy for me. It was like, I can't write this. This isn't where I need to be yet. And the Lord brought it to my mind, but you have books already. Go back. And I went on my external drive, and I pulled all of these out. Believe it or not, Daddy Daddy Me was written in a poem when my son was about 4 and he's 11. My niece is 11 now, and Beautiful Brown Me was written when she was 6. So these are old stories, but they're still relevant today. And as I shared them with one of my friends, some of my friends who are writers as well, Leanne and my other friends, and they said that these are powerful stories that the children need to hear. And one of the things that held me back was fear, because I thought it wasn't good enough. No one who would want to read something that you wrote. So I decided, okay, you've crossed this.
Oh wow, I couldn't pass that. Isn't that sad that we doubt ourselves like that?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So my thing was, what do you have to lose now? You're fighting this battle, so just do it. If it fails, it fails, but just be content that you did it. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
Wow, that is definitely some powerful stuff. And you talk about having cancer. I just need to adjust my battery just a little bit. Okay, I think I should be good. But you talked about having cancer, and you didn't want to, you know that probably was in a situation where it could have been life or death, and you didn't want to leave with all of this gifting and all of these talents that you had. And so I want to congratulate you for being brave enough to put yourself forward, because you mentioned that, or you had those thoughts in the back of your head. But I want to thank you for being brave enough to put yourself forward for that. Okay, so I just want to get to another point, but I didn't want you to glaze over those stuff, because those are so very important key things. Those are so powerful. You oh man. So I want to ask you about sharing stories. Why do you think it's so important for us to share these stories, especially the stories that you wrote about? And again, I just want to reiterate that you mentioned some very important stories. You talk about colorism, you talk about present fathers, and then you talk about believing in yourself, believing in your dreams. So while you elaborate on that, I just want to adjust my camera for a minute. But go ahead, take over.
Okay. I believe that children need positive representations, and positive representations of Black men, of fathers, of people that they can relate to, who can be present right in their own community. We have been overshadowed with so much negativity, and I believe that it's time to celebrate the positivity that can evolve. And if you breed more positivity in, you will reap more positivity, because if you instill in children at an early age that they can be what they want to be, that they can be great fathers even if they didn't have a father, and that they're beautiful regardless of their outer appearance, then you are shaping them and molding them and helping to form their moral and their personal code. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's important. The positivity needs to be represented and highlighted so that our children can have something to look up to. They watch international television and they read international stories, but if they see that Bahamians have the ability and the capability to do it too, then they can probably aspire to be writers themselves and to tell their stories in their own way.
Yes, I am here. Those are some powerful points that you mentioned. And listen, I you kind of, you go over them, and I don't think you realize the impact of what you're saying, but it's very important for us to share these stories and to pass on to our kids. And I'm glad that you're addressing these issues, but you're putting it in a form that they can relate to. So this is excellent. And so I want to move to another point of any future endeavors. I know you mentioned that you have another book that you're working on, and I love the topic that you're focusing on. No matter what challenges you face with, you have to believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. And so is there any other future endeavors that you would like to share or talk about?
Well, I want to write an inspirational journal. I have the points down. I just have to flesh it out, and I am now getting the nudging to continue the story of the journey. So maybe I'll be a little freer to continue it. I don't know what else lies in between there. The Beautiful Brown Me, I just finished editing it, and so it's just been released on Amazon this week, actually. And so now I'm trying to, after I go through this process that I'm dealing with now, I'll start looking for an illustrator for Big Dreams Live Inside of Me, and then see what comes up from there.
Awesome. You saying these things, I'm kind of adjusting because you're saying it so lightly, but I don't think you realize the good things that you're doing. It's awesome. It's really awesome. I want to mention, Leanne, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, all of you who are joining us on this session. Please like and share, share. We have Miss Kendia Ferguson Simmons, a Bahamian creative, a Bahamian author who has authored Bahamian books too. Sorry, not Bahamian books, who has authored books. I'm so sorry. Who has authored books and who is touching some very sensitive topics. And so we definitely want to highlight her. And so I wanted to ask you, about any challenges that you may have had. I don't know if you want to share, you want to talk about.
Yeah, my first challenge was, how do I publish this? I don't have that kind of money. And so I researched, and the first book was, well, both books are self-published. And so finding illustrators, as you know, they're not cheap, but I was able to come across this app called Fiverr and sent out bids, and that's how I got my illustrator. The hardest part of the process was actually trying to format the book to upload it for self-publishing, but eventually I was able to grasp it. And the second book is published only on Amazon. I finally figured out how to use KDP. So yeah.
You finally figured out how to
use KDP publishing
okay.
from Amazon. Yeah. So those were the most challenging parts, figuring out how to format it to get it to the right dimensions for publication. Yeah.
Awesome. You're just a lesson. And I hope that you realize this. You're talking so lightly, but you don't understand. And I'm taking everything in that you're saying. Everything that you're doing is a lesson. Because you talk about the challenges that you had to overcome in terms of you had these stories in you. You know that you needed to get them out of you, but you're facing the challenge of, oh, I may not have this, I may not have that. How am I gonna get these challenges out? But guess what? You did it. And then you also, yes, for sure. And so you're talking so lightly, but for me, it's a confirmation of certain things, and I hope that people can pick up from what you're saying, even though you're talking about it so casually, but it's very profound, very, very profound. In that you mentioned that you were thinking about person's gonna want to hear these stories, or people gonna, oh my goodness, you did it. And so super proud of you.
Thank you.
And so that brings us to our fast talk segment. You have about 60 seconds to get through these questions. I know that you can do it. Okay, so we've arrived at our fast talk segment. You have 60 seconds to get through each of these questions. First question: what is the most valuable message that you conveyed in your book?
That a father's role, his behavior, his interactions with his child is vital to their development. Yeah.
Name your greatest triumph during the process of writing your book.
Actually, corresponding with the illustrator and watching her bring the words to life in the form of the pictures. Yeah, that was the greatest. When I saw the pictures, I was like, yes, this is it. This is the story. Yeah.
Name your greatest challenge during the process of writing your book.
self-publishing, self-publishing, actually trying to figure out how to get the ISBN number, how to do format the book, how to make sure the margins, the bleed, all these terms. That was the most challenging part. Yeah.
What advice would you give to upcoming authors, someone else who has this story inside of them? They want to tell the story, but maybe like you, they think, I don't have these resources. I'm not able to get it done. What advice can you offer to them?
To write, to publish, to push through, to take it one step at a time, do it in stages, because you never know who needs to hear the story that you have to tell. God doesn't place stories in our hearts for naught. He gives us the story so that we can help
Ooh.
others. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I told you, you dropping these things and you leaving stuff, dropping bombs and leaving. We gotta go back over that. Oh Lord. Okay.
Oh,
What
Lord.
can we do to encourage more Bahamians to become authors?
I think platforms like this is a good start to help celebrate them, because sometimes you feel like it's for naught. But once you get out there and people begin to read and to see what it is that you're doing, it encourages you, it inspires you to keep pushing and to keep trudging on. So yeah.
Thank you. Great job. Now we come to the end of our fast talk segment, but I have to jump back to that bomb you just dropped. You just dropped and ran. Let's go back to that. You said God doesn't place stories in you.
He doesn't place stories in you just for you to sit on them. It's his way of using you to help someone else. He doesn't just use the preachers, and we're all preachers in our own right. Whatever genre, whatever gifting, whatever talent, we are to use it to help others, to help them see that he is there and he cares and that he is listening and that he is welcoming you to give you the answer and to give you the peace that you need.
Okay, please don't drop another bomb and run, please. So I just want to highlight those persons who are listening in with us. Thank you, Vivian. Vivian is from Jamaica. She says hello to myself and our guests. Thank you, Emma, for joining us. Thank you, Artificial Homegrown. Thank you, Jan Forbes. And thank you, Artificial Homegrown. He says awesome. Leanne is saying yes, advice. So I don't know if you want to go back over that advice again that you mentioned in terms of those persons who, because that's important, the persons who have these things in their heart, they have stories that they want to tell, but they don't know exactly how to put themselves forward. And I don't know if you could give them a little nudge and, share.
Just keep going at it. And then find you a friend like Leanne who is willing to be a sounding board and say, no, and to keep pushing, to keep trudging on, because it will become a little disheartening. But when it becomes disheartening, put it down. Come back to it. Don't put it down and cast it away. Come back to it and go over it and keep researching. We have the world at our fingertips in our phones and our devices. Keep Googling, keep searching to see, even YouTubing to see how others have done it, and just how they've done it, you can do it too. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those encouraging words. Is there any other additional comments you would like to add as well that you probably didn't get to cover?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
So I was just going back over those comments. And again, I just want to thank those who are joining us today. Thank you for your support. And also, I just want to mention that, you're talking so casually. I hope you realize how powerful, so much powerful statements that you made today. I definitely felt that. You said a lot of profound things today if people were listening. For those who are on live with us, please share, like and share this video. Show us some support. We want to grow, guys. So show us some support, like and share. Show Kendia Ferguson Simmons some support. And can you share, I was supposed to share your book, but can you talk about your book while I share share your book on my screen. Can you talk a little bit about your book, please?
Which one, Daddy, Daddy, Me?
All of them.
Well, like I said, Daddy, Daddy, Me, it documents the interaction between a father and his son, the things that they do together, and the way the son responds and adores and admires his father. And it takes you on a journey of the different things that they engage in together and how the son feels about those things and what those things mean to him. And so that is where Daddy, Daddy, Me is about. And like I said, Beautiful Brown Me is about a little girl who feels as if she isn't beautiful because her skin hue is not as light as those of her cousins. And so her aunt in the book teaches her why she's beautiful and that beauty is not only on the outside, but it's in the inside. It's in the things that you can do, and it's in the way that you conduct yourself. And not everyone is going to like your beauty, but it's up to you to like your beauty.
Oh my gosh, you're going deep again. So I told you, stop dropping these bombs and running. You're dropping bombs, you're dropping jewels and running. Could you repeat that again, please?
That your beauty is not about only about your outer appearance, it's about inside. It's about how you feel towards people, what you do, how you act, the things that your talents, your gifts. And not everyone is going to like your beauty, but you have to love your beauty so that you can continue to be the beautiful person that you are.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness, you getting some powerful stuff today. I'm so you're talking so casually, but it's definitely profound. It's definitely profound, and I just want to thank you for spending time with us today, talking about your books, hitting these heavy topics, these heavy subjects, and reaching to our kids who we think, because they're young, may not be experiencing these issues that we face in our society, whether it's colorism and all these issues that we face. We may not think that they are impacted, but guess what? They go through these things. And so for you to write these stories to say, okay, I feel you, I hear you, but I want to share some insight with you. I want to share how you can overcome being a little bit darker than everybody else, but understanding that that's okay. You're still beautiful. You're just as talented. You're just as worthy as those persons who may be of a lighter hue. And so you tackle some serious topics, and you also talk about dreaming big, having challenges. Yes, you may have some challenges in your life, but that still cannot stop you from achieving what you want to achieve and going where you want to go. If you have those big dreams inside of you, can still achieve those things. So I want to thank you for sharing that.
And thank
and
you
I
for
just
the opportunity.
And I just want to nudge you again. I don't know if you want to add anything else before we close, as we come to the end of our session. I want to nudge you again. You're so casual. You're talking so casually, but you're dropping some powerful truths here. But I want to nudge you again just to see if you want to add anything else before we close on our session.
Um, I know that life can be a bit difficult and overwhelming at times, but we always are provided with the ram in the bush, in the thicket. And writing was my ram in the thicket. Believe it or not, those books were fleshed out while I was going to chemotherapy and dealing with the side effects, not being able to sleep. I was writing. And so my friend Pastor Michelle Tapp, she preached a message one time. A bad thing is not always a bad thing. Sometimes those bad things can birth great things. And so don't let the obstacles hinder you or stop you or put a full stop. Put a comma there or a semicolon and then continue on and keep pushing. And that's all I have to say.
Oh man.
Powerful.
Powerful. Millie Dawkins is saying powerful. Yes, Millie, she's a powerful lady, but she's speaking casually, but that's okay. Once if you get it, you get it. So I just want to thank you, Miss Simmons, Miss Ferguson Simmons, Kendia Ferguson
Thank you.
Simmons, for joining us today and talking about your book, being a Bahamian creative and entering that space, not knowing whether or not you felt as though your stories may have not been worthy enough, but you put yourself forward enter that space, and not knowing whether or not you had the resources to share your
Mhm.
story, but you entered that space. And being impacted by cancer, you shared that you were impacted by cancer. That's another thing that you glazed over, but that's okay. But you still were able to share your story. And so I want to thank you for your powerful sharing your powerful story with us today. Very impactful. And so this brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in our talk today. I would like to thank our guests, Ms. Kendia Ferguson Simmons. Thank you for those who were on our live. Let us know what you want us to talk about, like our page. We want to hear from you. To those watching again, thank you for listening in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, we're LinkedIn. Follow us on our social media pages. We do want to hear from you, and we do want to grow, and we want your support. So as we come to the end of the session, let's remember to think, talk, do. Thank you so much.
Thank